Welcome in, everybody, to Extreme Radio, presented by GracePointe Healthcare. Go to GracePointeHealthcare.com. Mention 8-Man Extreme when you request your new patient office visit online. $20 off. GracePointe Healthcare, modern medicine the old-fashioned way. Also sponsored by Jets Pizza of Springfield, Fort Campbell, Clarksville, and Goodlettsville. Let's get Jets. Well, not an active weekend in 8-man football. Just make sure to keep Zachary continually in your thoughts and condolences as he recovers. As we've heard, he is okay. He's staying stable. They had a spinal tap and nothing abnormal to report or anything along those lines. He's of course, tweeted out a diagnosis of a traumatic brain injury, and he has less than a week now. I think a few days left of going through therapy and recovery. You said 2 left? Something like that?
No, you said am I even on?
Yeah, you are. He just turned you down a little bit because you're on.
You don't have to turn me up. Just turn my amp up.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. We don't want to blow everyone out of the water.
Well, you blow everybody out of the water with your picks each week, so I mean,
I have something to address on that in a second, but
yeah,
I'll let you finish.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, keep Zachary in your thoughts and everything. He's got a few more days where he'll be going through therapy in the hospital, but he'll take a few weeks to recover, fully adjust, and looks like he'll be back either the week of Halloween or for the stretch of the playoffs. So keep him in your thoughts and condolences. But he certainly appreciates everyone who gave the well wishes to him from last night. We had a few people come up to myself and Jack during the game asking what was going on with him, why he wasn't there, and of course explained it to both of the coaches, and they were fine with that. And Zachary, of course, he couldn't be here today. We were thinking about having him come in remotely, but his health is first and foremost. So, but besides that, not an active week in 8-man football. We'll go through the 3 games that occurred and go from there. So we'll start with the contest. We'll start with the contest we were at on Thursday. The only game that I'm aware of that was occurring in 8-man football around the region. I think there were a few other games in Alabama, but at least out of the teams we cover, that's the only game that was going on Thursday. But there were some other games going on that were pushed back.
Those Ezekiel Academy Knights getting another win.
Yeah, staying unbeaten so far. What what the score is on that?
It is 48-0. They beat Success Unlimited.
And Freedom beat them the previous week. Yeah, previous week by was it a?
Look at that elephant memory.
I don't remember the score though. It was pretty one-sided though, wasn't it?
Well, I'm looking at it right now. Shout out to our guy Hake St. Dennis with NHSA. Go follow him on Facebook, National High School. I think the page name is National High School Tournament 8-Man Football.
I've shared a few posts from it.
Go follow them.
Yep.
All right, so the other score. So they lost to Freedom 50-14.
Yeah, that was a success.
They're not having a great season. Yeah. But anyways.
And, of course, we know what happened with Ezekiel Academy and Evangel last week. And Ezekiel just staying unbeaten thus far, looking for that undefeated season as they continue to press forward.
Coach Tim Smith with Evangel taking his first 8-man football loss.
Yep, that was last week, but they bounced back 67-53 final score from Montevallo, Alabama, and you could tell we talked with Coach Scott after the game and some of his guys. You could tell they were frustrated because they believed they could have won that game easily. But the good news is for them, with playing good teams like that, it's just building blocks for them to go off of. And as far as I'm aware, the plan is for Evangel to travel up to Mount Juliet next year. So that just makes things a whole lot better for the Tennessee Heat. They won't have that travel factored in, but. For Evangel, tough loss against Ezekiel the previous week, and for them to bounce back and get that win, especially at home and under the circumstances of moving a game back from Friday Night Lights because of the incoming storms. Kudos to Tim Smith and company.
Well, not even that. Losing their starting quarterback for a couple weeks, moving an athlete like Jet Lodge to quarterback, having one less practice day with him, like they didn't get that Thursday walkthrough. Because with the game on Thursday. So, shortened practice time to try to get that ready. He absolutely just stepped in, and he was a beast. And Evangel's got dudes, outside of that, guys like Tim Howard, Bradley Davis, Riley Mason on the line. They've got guys across the board that were really, really showing up on Thursday. And what I enjoyed watching was, obviously the Heat, I talked about on the broadcast, they've got so many – they're so deep at receiver. You've got Brandon Goolsby, Carter Sutton, Josh Hackle. There's one other receiver. I'm drawing a blank. I know you got Trace Alger who came back. Ty Whitaker, I think, had a catch the other day. Andrew Corley as a tight end. So, they've got playmakers. But, just seeing how Evangel matched up on him and guys like Goolsby, they put Bradley Davis on him at first. He was doing a good job. Goolsby had 5 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. And then they put Jet Lodge on him, and he kind of shut him down. So just a great effort, really by both teams. You look at the box score, and it was a close game at halftime. It was 34-27. No, that's not right. 27. Yeah. Well, yeah. 34-27. Yeah, because it was 7-6 at the end of the first quarter. So, yeah, 34-27, and then a 27-point third quarter for Evangel, and just absolutely pulled away. So, congratulations, Coach Smith, picking up the win. Always great to go to Evangel, even if you have to come back and get 3 hours of sleep and go to work the next day.
Yeah,
but I digress.
Yeah, that was for you.
I was in zombie mode. Friday I was powered by Bang energy drink. But
not a sponsor, but
not
could be.
Not a sponsor, but could be. Needs to be.
Yeah, you're still seeming pretty tired today anyway.
I'm still recovering, dude. I'm still part of being adult is just staying tired, and then every once in a while you try to recover.
Right.
And you don't. And then someone woke me up Saturday morning and about that Jesus. But I digress. This isn't about me.
No, you're right. But congratulations to the Evangel Christian School Lightning. Of course, next week they host Freedom again for the second time this season. And as for the Tennessee Heat, they go on the bye week as they were trying to. They were originally scheduled for next week to collide with the Lighthouse Christian School Lions. We'll get into that when we get into our preview of the games and the reasons behind that, since we have
look at you
other
keeping
games.
Everything all organized.
Well, that, and you also have to entice people to listen the entire hour.
That's true.
Because they're not here just for your hot takes. I mean, 90% of them are for your hot takes, but you got to get that other 10% in there. So.
Producer Jack, you got something?
You got something?
Okay.
Oh, I don't.
No.
Just shook.
You said no.
I feel very disrespected. I don't.
How about
I don't know if that's exactly
how about a shout out to producer Jack? Solid performance Friday night in his debut. Always things you can improve in your debut, but
give it up for Jack Elwig.
Solid stepping in with 3 days notice.
Oh yeah.
So there you go.
Yep, and we'll get his thoughts on the game we were at in a few moments. But again, Tennessee Heat, they're going on the bye week, and then they will travel to the Bowling Green Warriors to have none of their seniors play in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And we now get into the game we were not at. So it originally was South Haven Sacred Heart. That game got canceled, and then flipped around. The team that was supposed to play Freedom, they canceled. So it just formulated. Everything aligned perfectly, and the Patriots were able to have the second overall meeting between their school
both in Springfield.
Both times in Springfield. The second time to collide with the Freedom Cowboys, and got to talk to Josh Butler. Got him his Chick-fil-A cards. Chick-fil-A cards on the way up there.
Got Corley his cards on Thursday night.
Yep.
We were all caught up.
Yep. And we'll actually get into the Player of the Week situation from last week in a little bit, but
do we have to?
We can talk about it. 64-30, South Haven over the Freedom Cowboys, and it's one of those tough games. You actually got to show up there on Friday.
There.
Yep.
I showed up about halftime.
Yep.
Decided to take in a football game. It was actually closed at halftime.
I think it was.
Hang on, I have the text of what the score was.
Was it 34-24? Something like that.
I believe so. 34-16 at half.
Okay. So
And then Cowboys scored like right out of halftime,
Mhm.
and it had the chance there, and then the Patriots happened, and they just
Yep.
took off.
Yeah, there's a reason the road to the championship goes through South Haven. It's just because of the culture James Sawyer's and company have within the Patriots organization, and of course with the freshman trio from 2017 on that championship team who are now seniors between Dang, Crawley, and Atkinson.
What were you going to say just then?
I was saying
The
the
freshman-
freshman. I said the freshman trio because they were
you were
freshmen.
going to say duo though.
Yeah, I almost said duo, and then I keep backtracking and remember that the trio because Atkinson has shown up this season for the Patriots, and all of them on that 2017 state championship team as freshmen. I think Crawley got to take a few snaps in that state championship, but now as a starting quarterback, they have a chance to do it all over again 3 seasons later and go to a state championship. But congratulations to the Patriots on that win.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, just again, Butler had a good game. Freedom had a good game. Not as good as they needed, obviously. Didn't get the win, but again, another solid performance on senior night for South Haven.
Yep.
It was a good night for Robertson County 8-man football. If you don't know, both schools in Robertson County, both in Middle Tennessee, both White House and Springfield.
Yep.
But
Middle Tennessee, yeah.
Middle Tennessee, yeah. But yeah, it was a good night for Robertson County.
Good night for them. And congratulations to the Patriots. They go on a bye week next week before they collide with the Riverside Christian Academy Knights. That's an exciting matchup to look between Crutcher Rizal and Emmanuel Dang. To see those two guys, they're just absolute athletes to try and collide with each other.
Maybe we'll have to go to that one.
We might. It depends. It's always a week-by-week decision.
Week basis.
Yep. For South Haven, they take a week of rest, travel to Riverside, and then for the Freedom Cowboys, it's a travel back to Evangel for the second time in a single season. And the game we were at Friday night. Of course, we thought we would be in Alabaster in that area on Friday, but with the game moving up to Thursday, we decided. Why not take in another game for Friday night and have a good game for producer Jack's debut as color analyst? 34-20, Christian Community got the win on the road in a rivalry that occurred for a long time since 2008, and for Classical, it's tough because yes, Coach Austin got his first win earlier in the season. However, they're struggling. Of course, they're set for the Division II championship no matter what the tiebreaker scenarios are. But at least for Classical, it's one of those situations. And we talked to Coach Austin after the game. It takes time to build a winning culture. It takes time to build greatness, and that was the case you saw between Coach Flanders, who in his fifth season and has built that winning culture from the beginning, and then for Austin in his first season. It's very tough to get that up and going in the first season, but he's got the pieces around him, so it's going to be interesting to see what Classical does going forward.
Well, and it's a bad intersection of first-year coach and injury bug hitting you like nobody's business. It reminds me a lot of 2016 South Haven Christian. Their first year in the coming over from TACS, now Classical's not coming off a state championship, but Michael Crawley's first season, they got hit with the injury bug really bad. And his first year as a head coach, just a lot of things intersecting. The season did not go well for them. It reminds me a lot of that. A couple close games here or there that could have gone your way and didn't. You think about how crazy the situation would be now if Classical had beaten Ezel Harding in that overtime game.
Yep.
And put them at 2 wins. But just a tough break for them. But they'll rebound. Guys like Clay Lott being out for the year really, really hurts. Especially with the type of player he is. But, they've got guys that, look, the last couple of weeks here, you got to rally. You got to rally. You got to figure your stuff out and say, you know what, we're going to buckle down. And we don't play any more divisional games except for FCA. Battle Franklin next week.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, let's go play spoiler. Let's shake up a couple other teams' seasons and really really hurt them a little bit. And for CCS, I mean, that was the win they needed to come out because the score was not indicative of the game. It was a blowout game. The score did not show the type of game it was. And for CCS coming off that blowout loss to South Haven Christian, they needed that win Friday night. More so I would think for morale level. But yeah, I mean, it's just a solid win for the Colts.
Yeah, especially going into the postseason. Imagine if Classical had gotten that win against Ezel Harding, they would be they'd be 1-2 in the South, and possibly
poised, 2-2 with a Christian game coming.
Yeah, if they managed to win there, they'd be 2-2, and then all tiebreaker stuff would go out of the would just be crazy. Which I had to Saturday on my day off, I had to go through those, and we'll look at the playoff bracket in a second. But that
would you just actually take a day off, dude?
No, not during the season, man. You know how it is. You don't take a day off. You're still doing something.
Did I do anything football related Saturday? No, I didn't do anything football.
That's right, you
yesterday.
didn't. Yeah,
I mean, I took a couple phone calls.
Yeah, took some phone calls.
But
from
that's
coaches,
not like work.
But anyways, producer Jack, in your debut as a color analyst between that game, I know we'll get into a little bit in sound off, but your thoughts on CCS getting a win on the road?
I'll just put it this way, just keep it nice, short, and simple, just so we can move on with things. I think they played a very solid first half, especially on defense, with Astronix coming up with 2 early interceptions. Definitely set the tone for the entire game. And with FCS, like I said during the game time, it was a lot of frustration that was kind of building up. You know, a lot of drop passes, a lot of dumb penalties and things like that kind of set them back. And things like that. But I think the tone setter for the beginning was Astronix definitely coming in, definitely taking that leading role on the defense, I guess you could say, for last night, and just powering through and just keeping that presence of mind for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I've slept since then, but that name just immediately, once you mention it with Astronix, I mean, we mentioned it on air about a possible Player of the Week nomination, and depends, of course, if Coach Flanders nominates him. But it's Astronix, he definitely showed up. That was one of those games that he showed up in the times that they needed it, with two interceptions, picked off a Hubbard, and making big tackles in the backfield to prevent Hubbard or Sahlstrom from getting anywhere. So that's when you talk about playmakers and people who set the tone of the game, you're absolutely right with that.
Can I be controversial like I always am?
I mean, none of us are stopping you.
That was a rhetorical question. I do have to wonder, though, looking back on the season, if at the how do I word this? At the beginning of their season, because your quarterback last year was Sam Hubbard, the quarterback 2 years ago was Sam Hubbard. You know, you've been developing him and kind of, working on him, or maybe not 2 years ago, but I don't know, last year for sure. I look back and wonder if you had just left him at quarterback, let him do his thing, because I know, at the beginning of the season, Josh Sahlstrom was taking some snaps. They had a couple guys taking snaps. If you had just left Hubbard at quarterback and let him kind of do his thing, where would your season be at right now?
Yeah.
Instead of, trying a couple different new things. Sometimes trying new things is great.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a proven commodity like a starting quarterback that's like taking, it's crazy. But
yep.
I do wonder what would have happened with the season. Had the season gone any different if you left Sam Hubbard at quarterback? Right.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, I wonder what would have happened.
I'm not. Monday morning quarterbacking Isaiah.
Right.
Coach Austin. I'm just saying, you got to think about that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you leave him there, is your season different?
Yeah,
I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my opinion.
Yeah, that's a decent angle to look at, but at least, yep.
And let me address something else. Okay. I got, and it might have been in jest, and that's fine. Someone made a comment to me Friday, and I'm not going to mention them by name, but the CCS win was brought up Friday, and the comment was made, you hate when CCS wins, don't you? Well, besides the fact that I'd picked Classical that night, so that kind of stung, because now I'm one game down in the Pick'em Challenge.
First time that's ever happened in the regular season,
First time in a long time. Let's see, what's the exact record? It is 22-9 to 21-10. So I've missed 10. Do I hate when CCS loses? No, I don't hate anybody. I don't hate any of these football teams, these coaches, these players. There's people that are difficult to work with and difficult to communicate with, but that doesn't make them hate. That doesn't make me hate. There's very few people I hate, and there's definitely no one inside this football niche that I hate. There's no one that if you texted me or called me tomorrow, I would ignore your unless I literally couldn't take a phone call. I wouldn't ignore your call. I wouldn't ignore your text. If you ask for a number or a contact for a coach, you're going to get it. If you ask a question, you're going to get it answered. You might not like the answer, but you're going to get an answer. Being controversial does not equal hate. Just putting it out there. It just means I have a different opinion than a lot of people, and people can literally get over it. But in order to know that I'm controversial, you have to listen to this show. And if you listen to the show, that means we already win because you've now given up however much of your time you've spent listening to this show on my opinion. So I win. You know, if you sit back and you're like, well, I don't know what James usually thinks about stuff. I don't really. Okay, cool. You win. Whatever. Now that's on me to try to make it more enticing for you to listen to the show. But if you're listening to the show and you know I'm controversial, or you're hearing from someone else that I'm controversial, and that that's literally in your head, whether you love me or hate me, I'm in your head. You're thinking about me. That's all I care about.
Yep.
Because when I become when me and these guys become irrelevant, and 8-Man Extreme's opinion becomes irrelevant, we lose all day long.
Would you say you're collecting rent?
No, I'm paying rent. Because if
so
I'm living in their head, I'm paying rent. So I'm going to be expecting some invoices.
But you're in there so easy, it's rent-free.
That's true. That's true. I'm kind of piggybacking off of whoever. But just wanted to address that. Hey, being controversial does not equal hate. I don't hate any of these teams. You can say that I have a bias for some teams, and you're entitled to your opinion. You're just not entitled to your own facts. And the facts are that I do not hate any of these football teams.
Using a quote from the vice presidential debate.
It was a solid quote. No matter what your opinion on politics is, if it was used the other way, it'd still be a solid quote.
Fair enough. Congratulations to the Colts on getting that victory on the road against Classical. They have a bye week before a very crucial game to determine if they will host a playoff game at May Flanders Field, or if for the first time in the playoffs in a while, I think we said it's 2016 or 2015, that Christian Community will be traveling on the road if they lose to Lighthouse. However, we'll see how it goes on October 23rd.
2016 they missed the playoffs.
I think it was 2015.
2015 they went on the road. No, 2014 they went on the road to FCA because they hosted Classical in 15. So in terms of a actual playoff game, it's been 2014, and they went on the road to FCA.
Yep. First things first, they'll have to get the job done against Lighthouse to be able to host a playoff game, and have to get the win in the second round for that to become a reality since 2014. But one game at a time for them. They go on the rest. And for Franklin Classical, they get right back to it as they host their final home game of the season in hosting the Providence Christian Academy Lions. All right, time to get the playoff bracket up on the screen for everybody. Do
we have something we want to address before that?
We probably do. Which part?
Last season or last week. A player situation.
You talking about?
Hang on, I'll show you, and you can decide when we want to talk about it.
You talking about this stuff? Let's see. Take you to address it. Okay. Yep. Okay.
You choose when you want to talk about it. I'm just.
All right, let's go ahead and put the playoff bracket on the screen, and we'll talk about what the situation is. So this was updated as of today. The road to the playoffs through the North has to go through South Haven. The Patriots have clinched a home playoff game. It's not up on the DVD. I
thought you put it up on the big screen.
I can.
We still have this stupid football game up here where Cleveland is really hurting my Indianapolis defense. But anyways,
this is the updated playoff bracket. The road goes.
Do what?
It's always my brownies.
Yes.
Wait, hold on. Baker Mayfield drops back. chucks it at least 60 yards, and he catches it.
Oh,
Nice
no, it's
catch.
intercepted.
No, that's
Oh,
Beckham.
he
It's not.
caught
Oh,
it.
no,
That's
Beckham,
Beckham
excuse me?
Jr.
All right,
That's
let's
impressive.
Continue.
All right, so the road to the north in the playoffs goes through Springfield with the South Haven Patriots clinching the #1 seed in the north. And as mentioned, Christian Community Lighthouse, that game at May Flanders Field on October 23rd. That determines who will host in the first round and who will be going on the road, at least for the north. But every north team has clinched
Lighthouse
playoff.
is able to play that game.
That is true.
There has
is
to
true.
be some kind of a plan in case they cannot play that game.
Yes.
And we'll talk about why in a second.
Yes. And for the South, this Friday's game between. So here's the situation right now. Nobody has clinched a playoff game in the South because of the amount of games that have been played between the 5 eligible teams. Franklin Classical has clinched a Division II playoff berth technically.
Is it really clinching it though?
It's not clinching. They're
falling into it.
They're falling into. They are guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Classical is guaranteed. They will be in the Division II.
I like that word better.
They will be in the Division II championship because of what we'll talk about in a second. So Classical is the only team that no matter if they beat FCA or whatever losses happen, any of that, they are out of the Division I playoffs. If the season were to end today, because of Riverside Christian being 1-2 in division and Ezel Harding being 1-1, that's why Ezel Harding right now is in the #3 slot. That's if the season were to end today, but nothing is finalized. This Friday, Lancaster versus Franklin Christian. If Franklin Christian wins, they clinch the #1 seed in the South, and they are the first team in the South to clinch a playoff berth. And if I just heard someone's phone drop there.
Throw
Come
that
on,
iPhone
Mr.
on the
Jack.
ground.
I did.
So there is a scenario. If Lancaster wins on Friday and Ezel Harding wins out their games, in the South, and assuming FCA beats Franklin Classical the following week, it would be a 3-1 record between Ezel Harding, Lancaster, and Franklin Christian, and that would be a triangle, just like 2017, where Ezel Harding will have beaten Lancaster, Lancaster will beat FCA, again, assuming if that's the result of Friday, and then FCA will beat Ezel Harding earlier in the season. 3-way coin toss for the South seedings, which they still have not fixed those tiebreakers, and they need to be fixed. We've proclaimed that so many times on the show.
We'll probably get a recorded video of a 3-way coin toss. Or something like that.
Just like it happened in 2017. But that's besides the point. That's assuming if everything falls into place. There is a scenario of if that happens. But if Franklin Christian wins, on Friday, they clinch the #1 seed. And then for the playoff scenarios from there, they depend. I think FCA will be the only one that clinches. However, actually, if FCA wins and Riverside wins against Ezel Harding on Friday, then the playoff seeds are locked because of tiebreakers and overall record. Because Riverside's South games will be done, they'll have the tiebreaker over Ezel Harding. They will be the #3 seed. And even if Lancaster goes 3-2, they have the tiebreaker victory over Riverside, and they have the better record.
Well,
than,
technically, it
Ezel
wouldn't be 3-2 because Providence games don't count for.
They don't actually. I'll probably have to go back and look at this. So if Riverside wins and Lancaster loses, then there's a possibility of Lancaster and Ezel Harding going 2-2 in a tiebreaker there. So
the tiebreaker would be the last game of the season.
And
between Lancaster and Ezel Harding.
And that might also be a Lancaster beats Riverside beats Ezel Harding, and then Ezel Harding beats Lancaster if they win out. So, again, FCA is the only one who could clinch a playoff berth as of now for Friday, which that's just how it happens with these games being later on in the year.
Ipso facto, the South is stronger than the North, in my opinion. It's just like working out. When your workout gets tougher, that's how you get stronger.
Yep.
And for the South, for several years now, it's been tougher to get into the playoffs. So I think these South teams have gotten stronger because they have so much adversity to go through as opposed to the North where, if you're South Haven, okay, you blew out Christian Community, you blew out Lighthouse. Oh, wow, now we're the #1 seed, and we're going to sit and have a bye week and then host the second round of the playoffs. I would say the South is strong. And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you have a different opinion. I think the South is stronger than the North this year.
False.
Really?
False.
Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, as a collective unit, yes, but there's no South team that can actually compete with the Patriots.
Oh, you mean like the FCA one that beat them earlier this year?
To be honest, like I feel like the Patriots, if a rematch, they would probably beat them.
Oh, okay.
Fair enough.
Ooh,
Fair enough.
Some heat coming over there from that hot take.
The hot take is.
Listen, I try to say things.
So you're saying Lancaster would not beat South Haven, from what you've seen. Well, you haven't seen Lancaster live though.
Exactly, so I can't really comment.
Yeah, and Lancaster and South Haven have never played each other.
You don't think Riverside can beat South Haven? I guess we'll find out next week.
Yeah, that'll be a next week thing, or actually 2 weeks time. That's week 10. But anyways, that's the playoff bracket right now. There are still several playoff scenarios there. It depends on Friday night. Will give us either a clear picture or everything is still up in the air. Depends. If FCA gets the job done,
it'd be about as clear as mud.
If FCA gets the job done, the road in the south has to go through Franklin. But if Lancaster gets the job done, then that sets everything. That sets the majority of things still way apart. Because again, you could have a scenario of that number 2 seed in the playoffs being for a coin flip.
Hold on. I don't think you understood my question. Because now that I think about it, I'm not talking about if there's a strong team in the North. I'm saying the collective 3 teams in the North versus the collective 5 teams in the South.
No, I agreed with you in that sense. So
okay, but you're saying okay.
As a collective unit, the South is stronger than the North. Obviously.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
But I think the North, like with the Patriots and how they've been playing as the late season, I think they're the best team, and I don't think anyone can really touch them in the South with how they've been playing.
So does it mean that CCS and Lighthouse are having down years because they got blown out so bad, or is that saying that South Haven is so strong and that's why they blew out those 2 teams?
I think South Haven's just a really top dog. I think like South Haven's like S tier, and I think like CCS is like a solid like A- to B+. But like it's just they're good, but it's like it's not that good. You know what I mean?
I gotcha.
All right. So again, that's the bracket, and time for us to get into. We'll get into sound off in a second, but I have asked for a statement from Sacred Heart. They have not given me one. It's their choice. I'm sure if they give us a statement, I'll send it out on my social media. But we were notified. We were notified per sources this past week that Sacred Heart. Now, here's how the story played out. Sacred Heart versus the Tennessee Heat, not a conference game. Myself and Zachary, we talked to the coaches pregame, and we walked up to Coach Blankenship pregame, and he mentioned, "Hey, we've added some players. Here's a new roster for you," and he openly mentioned that I still have to talk to the league about it and see what we're going to do if we're not eligible for the playoffs, and that's fine. So I commend Sacred Heart 100% for being in this process. From what I've heard, they have been open. They have been communicating with the executive board of the conference. Nothing malicious. Nothing to the effect of 2015 or 2016 when 2015 they were declared ineligible, and then 2016 they of course vacated their they had a forced vacation of their championship because of the ineligible players. So nothing malicious in those 2 seasons. However, you're smirking at me, James.
If I really want to be controversial, I'll say that I still consider Sacred Heart to be the champion that year.
Yeah, you can be controversial, but anyways.
So
Sacred Heart chose not to give a statement anyways. So the weeks passed, kept asking league representatives about if they're eligible. They said, we'll let you know about this, and then we heard from a source on Wednesday, Thursday night that the Sacred Heart game got canceled and ineligible players and things like that. So that is why I finalized those are the only 3 teams in the North that are going to the playoffs, because there was only 4 and now it's 3. And that's why Lighthouse CCS, that determines who's going to host that first round playoff game. And the story behind it was that for Sacred Heart's players, the issue they had was several people got injured, and then they had a coronavirus scare with some of their players where they had to go through quarantining protocols, and they were down to 9 players. And the players that they added to the roster to get up to, I believe, 13 or 14 were were direct relatives of players on the team that were already at Sacred Heart. So it wasn't an issue of players being from another school or from another homeschool program in a legal co-op, nothing like that to my knowledge. It's that they were added after the roster deadline.
But the roster deadline has been extended.
It was it was extended. It's funny. The roster deadline was originally August 1st, beginning of the season, right? And they sent out the league sent out an email on September 25th saying the roster deadline was extended to October 1st. But I believe because of the protocols and how they were going about it, because of how late it was in the season, I believe they ended up sticking with the rules and saying you added these players well into the season and everything, and right before there, because it was October 1st. I think they added those players the week of their game against Southampton. But again, I don't have an official statement from Sacred Heart, nor do I have official statement word from the TSIAA. So I'm going off of the information that I've heard.
A lot of hearsay.
It's a lot of hearsay. Yep. So
no real, doing the smart thing and using us as a platform to communicate the correct information.
Yeah. So that's what the situation is. And when asked directly, it is confirmed Division II championship is still happening. It's going to be between the number 4 and the number 5 seed in the South. And I've said it on the air. I mean, it's just broken record here. I think they should cancel the Division II championship because of it only being 2 teams, and they should relook at it for 2021. And you could attribute that to COVID-19. Now, your idea, of
I
course,
have a solution.
Losers from the first round.
I don't have a solution. You gonna let me give my solution?
No.
I have it's not an original solution of mine. It was brought up by someone else who said I could mention it on air. The first round of the playoffs, take the losing teams. Now, granted, the 2 teams from the South will get a first round bye. Whatever. Take the 2 losing teams from the first round, and what would be the second round of the Division I playoffs, have those losing teams host the 2 South teams. So let's say, for example, it's Classical and Easel Harding. Franklin Classical and Easel Harding. So they're losing 2 teams for hypothetical reasons, Lighthouse and Riverside. So now Lighthouse and Riverside, and you can cross it however, but let's say Lighthouse hosts Easel Harding, so we get a Battle of the Bell. We get Riverside hosting Franklin Classical.
Yep.
So they play those games on what would be week 2 of the Division I playoffs.
And then the
winners 2 winners play on the day of the Division I championship. And that way you have your 2 games. Now, you shouldn't call it a Division II championship, but call it whatever you want. But that makes it a little more competitive than saying, okay, well, these 2 teams had the worst, seasons in their division, so now they're just going to play and call themselves state champions, blah, 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 whatever. But if you're really into giving players more chances to play, making it fair and even, blah, 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 whatever.
Giving them something to legitimately play for instead of because again, marketing-wise. But market-wise, now in a conversation I had, there was a coach who said they wouldn't that even if they were in Division II, they will not claim that they are state champions from it. Which
somebody will,
which is the issue at hand. I think that's why I'm an advocate for just delay it until next year when you have more teams. When you figure out if Legacy Christian is going to officially join the conference, when you figure out that these teams that everybody's going to participate and such, but.
Producer Jack, what you got? Oh, okay. He's quick update on the show.
Oh yeah, he's just giving us an update there. But anyways, just to wrap it up, I mean, again, I think they canceled Division II for this year. They're not going to do it because the representative I talked to said the reason they're doing Division II is because they said they were going to offer it and they're sticking to their word. Which you can take that how you will. But anyways, so
I still like my idea. But anyways,
it's not your idea; it's somebody else.
Well, okay. The idea I presented.
Sacred Heart ineligible. If they give a statement, I'll put it out on social media. But they chose not to give a statement on the matter, and we'll go. That's what we're going from there. All right, time for Sound Off with our producer, Jack Halwig, and hear from what he saw this past weekend and such before we get into our preview of Week 9 games. So, producer Jack, time for Sound Off.
First, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Sound Off.
That's solid.
Thank you, James.
That's solid. You're welcome.
So, from the game that I first did color on with Spencer over here, thank you. Appreciate for having the opportunity and everything like that, first of all. The things that I saw, things that I took note of for future endeavors that we're going to see late in the season, I'll start with CCS and then I'll move on. So like I said, CCS started off very hot on defense, kind of just set the pace, set the tone for the entire game. I mean, like I said, very young team, but they really didn't make a whole lot of mistakes, to be honest, and that's kind of what we were hoping to see from that team, was just a very lackluster, or not lackluster, but a lot less mistakes, just a well-coached team from years past where they've had state championship and they've proved up to their potential as of right now. And, from our young running back duo, they ran very physical this past Friday. I mean, I'm talking about over 50 yards from probably each of them after contact. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, I was making comments when we were on break. I was like, they're just playing gritty football. I mean, I was always told whenever I played, the most physical team always wins at the end of the day, and that proved truth in that game that we saw. I think with CCS going forward, they're on a bye week as of right now, and then they have one more game that will determine seeding. I think home field advantage is very huge for that team. I feel like without home field advantage, I have no idea what's going to happen with them. So I mean this with all the pressure in the world. You need this. Everybody that listens, that's a CCS fan, a CCS player, a coach, you need to win this game. If you don't, you're probably not going to the championship. I'm just going to be completely honest, because even Spencer has said it, all of us have pretty much said it, home field advantage is so important for this team that without it, and here's the thing, this team did great on Friday, and I'm not distinguishing them in any way, shape, or form. They played amazing, and very glad for them. But the only reason they played good is because they really didn't have any mistakes. And with a young team, there's going to be mistakes being made. And that's what kind of worries me. It's a big game, a lot of pressure going on, and it determines a lot of things going in the season. A young team that's never been in this kind of situation, there's going to be a lot of mistakes being made. So I'm just going to leave it off like this. You guys need to play your absolute hardest in order to have somewhat of a chance to go to states and win this championship. Because without home field advantage, I don't see you doing it.
And the other factor that goes into that is Christian Community, because they're not number one seed. And again, all of us have mentioned it. May Flanders Field. That's the kryptonite of why. That's part of the kryptonite of why Lancaster Christian lost the game earlier this season. Yes, Deuce Bragg was out, but that's part of their kryptonite, and it's a reason why Christian Community has been so successful in the past. Why they won the 2018 championship in a shutout. I think it was because Webb offense is used to spreading out so much on the field. At least in 2018, that's what happened. Because there's only one anomaly in 2018 season of why Webb won every single game except for the one at CCS, and that's because they played on a 50 by 100 field. And the other factor, the big factor that comes into it, because CCS is not number one seed. Number two, yes, they would have a home playoff game if they get number 2 seed, but they have to travel to the South team. That's either they travel down to Franklin Christian or down to Lancaster Christian, and both of those are 50 by 100s.
Yeah, and historically, you look at earlier last season, CCS did not win at Classical.
At Lancaster.
Or at Lancaster, you're correct. And when was the last time that CCS won at FCA? Y'all can keep talking, but I'm going to look that up real quick because I'm curious.
It's been a while.
I'm looking it up right now because I want to know.
Yeah, it's been a while since they played each other, but Jack, you're absolutely right, and if you're a CCS fan, you got to hope they get that number 2 seed.
Yeah. So that's really all I have to say about CCS. I'll keep it short with that. Now I want to talk about our Knights with our lovely friend, Coach Austin. We'll call him Coach Austin. So, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of frustrations and things like that, a lot of drop passes, we get the memo. Now, one thing that I think that really screwed them over was they didn't know how to respond. It was all about whenever they went into half and they were down, it took them a while to really get into that scoring offense they needed to in order to come back. And it was ripped away from them because of a lot of things. But I think there was misuses of timeouts. I think there was a lot of sloppy penalties that caused them to be in positions that really screwed them over. I think they couldn't tackle them to save their lives, and I understand they're very physical. But, I mean, they were running through you. If they have a combined 100 yards after contact, you have a problem with tackling, and that's something that needs to be addressed at halftime. Because they were – I mean, I'm talking about there's no reason why my first call as a color debut should be a jab at Oprah saying, you get a stiff arm, you get a stiff arm, you get a stiff arm, because they are running through you so physically. That shouldn't happen. And let's not even go into that anymore. Let's talk about
Let's qualify first off. Again, let me interject. Let's qualify why producer Jack can say this kind of stuff. He played at a 6A school.
yes. And I played
So this isn't some guy coming off the streets who just, randomly giving his opinion. So for all you folks that are saying, well, his opinion is invalid, it is worth something.
Yep.
And it is the opinion of someone who does not have ties to either school.
Yes. And I was a two-way player also. I was defensive back, wide receiver, and I also played special teams. I was hands team.
But I digress.
Yes. So just a little background information for all of you that don't know me, because, you actually can
You're
hear
still
me
getting
this
to know
week.
him.
So whenever I was playing and things that motivated me, because Spencer asked me this during game day, what's something that you want to hear as a player going to halftime to motivate you and things like that? And I said, I cannot say these things on air. I can't, what they should be saying versus what I want to hear, both of those things I can't say on air. And I feel like with that team, I feel like with Coach Austin and I it's the first season and everything like that, no hard feelings, the injury bug, I totally get it. But there's so much talent on that roster. There's both the games I've went there, I've looked at them and said, wow, they can really win this game, and they've disappointed me.
Twice.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what kind of first impression is I go to your school, I look and I said, who in the hell is going to guard this dude? And then you get blown out in your own homecoming. I mean,
we need a dump button.
I know.
We apologize for that. I did it last year during the draft show.
That's our one. Yeah, that's our one.
That's your one beat.
Fair enough. So
That's your one beat.
It is okay, but it's
now we got to put an NSFW tag on this.
I could have said a lot of worse things. To be
that's true,
fair.
But you could have said better.
Yeah, I apologize. So,
but I digress.
It's just both my impressions that I've seen of this team have been very lackluster performances with a lot of talent, and I think that things could be play called better. Like first half, there was a lot of audibles, a lot of trickery that was trying to be called on CC to fool CCS, and it wasn't fooling them at all. I mean, Coach Flanders, he's been around the block. He knows what he's doing. I mean, the defense have been solid all year, and I get you're trying to throw them off their ground, but they were not thrown off their ground that entire first half. Because if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, they didn't put up any points in that first half. Talking about the Knights.
No.
Okay.
Don't think so. They may have got their first touchdown didn't come until third quarter, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and they had plenty of opportunities.
I'll check the Tennessee High School football app just to be safe on that.
I got it.
Yeah.
I'm checking.
All I'm gonna say with the Knights is I feel bad because this is a team that first-year head coach can get upset with them. Also, injury bug. I hope all the players that are injured, I hope you get well. I hate to see things like that. Young players getting injured. We never like to see anything like that. I made a call on Friday. There was an ugly tackle, and I made the comment where we don't like to see things like that because at the end of the day, we're all kids or young adults going into college, and we don't want to have a serious injury that affects the rest of our lives or that affects our senior season or so late in the season that even if this game doesn't matter for playoff picture, it's still you don't want to have to walk around in a boot for 6 months because of a stupid penalty or not a stupid penalty, but a stupid tackle or late hit out of bounds, whatever the case may be. So, Knights, I look forward to seeing you guys use this talent in different ways. Also, upcoming seasons, I think hopes are high. I think Austin will pull things together as he develops this team. But just kind of, I wish the comeback could have happened. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, that's our segment of Sound Off with producer Jack Elwig. And you were correct on that. They didn't score a touchdown until the third quarter and missed a 2-point conversion there. So, all right. Well, now heading into Week 9. Before we get to the game previews, let's address something. So the Tennessee Heat and Lighthouse Christian School game got canceled because they had a coronavirus outbreak at the school, from what I was told. They went on fall break, and I believe I'm not sure where. Not sure the specific people, and we wouldn't even name those even if we had them.
Exactly.
But I believe they went on fall break. I'm sure a decent amount of families went on vacation to several places, maybe even to Florida or California or places like that. So vacation, and then of course when you have extended period of time where you go on vacation to someplace and travel, your likelihood for contracting the coronavirus increases.
Yes.
So they brought back cases into their community. I'm not sure if it happened at all in the hallways, but this coming week they closed. It was either this coming week or the week before they had the school shut down because of the coronavirus outbreak to make sure that everybody was safe. And because of the timing of incubation period, making sure that other people are not infected or anything like that, Lighthouse had to cancel their game against the Tennessee Heat. So it's just a weird year.
That's such a fun word to say.
But we kind of, preseason we figured something like this might happen.
Yep.
And we're kind of, let's look at the good news about this. It happened very late in the season, but we also hope that the school can get things under wrap and nobody succumbs to this illness and everything like that. And we hope everyone has a quick recovery that have contracted, and we hope people that haven't contracted it do not get this virus.
What a year to be an athletic administrator, right? What a year to.
But for real, isn't incubation a fun word to say? Incubate.
I don't enjoy it as much as you probably
You need
do.
caffeine in your system, man. You're focusing on the
I need a key lime pie bang.
All right, so we went back and forth in the studio a lot about which game we were going to do this week. You'll know which one we're about to do. But let's get to the games that we're not going to be at. We'll start with the Freedom Cowboys. For the second time this season, as you follow along on your helmet schedules, actually, no, we won't start with Freedom because we're going to go top to bottom. So follow along on your helmet schedules from top to bottom, everybody. Week 10. One last thing, Jack.
So, in the honor of Zachary, can I make some predictions since he's not here? Just to keep
I forgot to ask Zachary what his
You
picks.
can pick the games.
I forgot what
Okay.
Zachary's picks
So-
are going to be. Let me see if I can get.
Why don't we FaceTime Zach in?
He doesn't have an iPhone.
Okay.
Yeah.
FaceTime.
So Facebook message him.
I'll just ask him what his game picks are for the week, and we'll
As
see
I
if he
mentioned
gives it
earlier, I am down by a game.
Yes,
So-
first time in the regular season ever that you've been down on the pick.
Just got to rebound.
Mhm.
Just got to rebound, boys.
So
It's going to be tough for you, but
while we wait on Zachary, I think I should do it in honor of him.
oh yeah, you'll do some picks
So-
in honor of Zachary. So you guys got to rock paper scissors for your pick things here. He's
I gotta
getting
stand
warmed
off
up.
of this.
He's getting warmed up.
Mm.
All right,
And in the great words of Zachary, I defer.
all right, James will go first.
What?
We'll see if Zachary says anything on the game picks. But for now, we will go top to bottom on the helmet schedule, starting with Franklin Christian hosting Lancaster Christian for the number 1 seed in the South for FCA. They are poised to control their own destiny and get this victory. If they get the W, the road to the championship in the South goes through Franklin. And for Lancaster Christian, they're trying to get that number 1 seed. Between Coach Bragg, Deuce Bragg, Jordan Horde, guys like that, they want that home crowd with Lancaster because it benefits them in the long run. Of course, they do travel well. They have a good fan base that travels, but home field just makes it so much better, even though it's 45 minutes away. And looks like Zachary said he's going to pick them in the chat as we go through. So producer Jack, just be looking at that YouTube chat, and we will see what he picks. So for Franklin Christian hosting Lancaster Christian, James, so I know you picked Lancaster to go undefeated. And I know that you, for the most part, stick with your preseason games. But I still ask you this question, just because we never know if you're going to change last second or do anything like that. So your explanation as to why you are picking the team that's going to win.
Did I say I was going to stick with the team?
I mean, you picked
I
Lancaster.
said it off air, but that didn't mean I'm going to say it now.
All right, who you got?
Oh, I'm picking Lancaster.
Yeah, you're saying undefeated. But even though you picked it preseason, your justification.
I think that Lancaster, especially with Deuce Bragg, I think they get up and rolling. They've had a couple hiccups here and there, but despite how Franklin Classical season's gone, big win against Franklin Classical. They have motivation behind them to win this game. And you still have Easel Hardin coming up. Just win out. Give yourself home field. The last 2 seasons they've had to go on the road in the playoffs, and that has not bode very well for them. So if you're Lancaster, the best thing you can do right now is make the road go through Smyrna. That is the number one thing you can do right now, and it starts with Friday night picking up a win. I will also make a wild prediction. I will say that news is going to break this week concerning a illegal co-op for a team, and that will affect the game Friday night. It might not happen, but I'm going to say that that I'm going to make that prediction that will happen before Friday. It might not. I might miss, but I think all those things factor in. I think Lancaster Christian wins on Friday.
How do you have insider information before me on that?
Oh, come on! I can't reveal my sources.
Yeah, we can't reveal our sources.
No,
I.
But you know what I'm referring to.
Yeah, we mentioned this on air during when we went through the bylaws of the certain things. So you're correct. You're correct. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I'm just saying. I'm making that prediction that news might drop.
Yep.
And that would affect it.
Yep.
But I digress.
Anyway, so your prediction is Lancaster. Waiting on Zachary to give his prediction for.
Me and Zachary are also going to agree with you, James. We're both going to go Lancaster. And that's actually.
He's saying Lancaster?
Yes, he is.
All right, you guys are taking the Lancaster.
Did he say in the chat? He said he was going to do it in the chat on YouTube or
in YouTube. I have it right in front of me.
Okay, so you got it there.
I have it in front of me too.
It hasn't updated on mine. It hasn't updated on mine. I'm not sure why, but
I have it on my screen here.
I think you just turned on and off the mouse or something, but
okay, interesting. Well,
what you were saying.
I mean, we have full face and Deuce, and then also give a little bit of motivation to the Cowboys. We're all going to pick against them, so hopefully.
You mean the Falcons?
Oh my God! I feel like
Cowboys are the Little League team, which the Falcons could end up looking like Friday night.
Well, to clarify, the Franklin Cowboys are the Little League team, not the Freedom Cowboys. Because when you say Cowboys, that's where people may have misconstrued that.
I don't know why I said that. I apologize. But again, I might need a bank too. Honestly,
yes, get it to both of you guys. But anyways, all of you got all of you have Lancaster Christian getting the victory there. All right, next game we have coming up between Providence Christian Academy. They travel about 30, 45 minutes away. They travel over to Franklin Classical School for what would have been a divisional matchup had Providence not been declared ineligible for the postseason. But Providence, they're coming off of it's a weird schedule because they had their game scheduled for Sacred Heart. It was canceled. It was a bye week for them. Then at Easel Harding, tough loss, and then another bye week, and now at Franklin Classical. So they've had a little bit of iffy there. It's weird to have 2 bye weeks separated the seasons there. It's tough, but LeBron Ferguson and company, it's going to be interesting to see what they do in Franklin at Fred Lane Field against Isaiah Austin, who, of course, coming off of a loss. We saw what happened when they came off of a tough loss before against Easel Harding. They came out strong, so it's going to be an interesting matchup. But James, who's taking? Is Ferguson taking is Ferguson going to bring?
Does Ferguson get his first win?
First win for Providence's varsity football program history, or does Isaiah bring a second win to Classical?
I think if you're Franklin Classical, obviously Providence Christian, your first year, you're going to take your lumps. You're going to, have your bumps and bruises. And if you're Franklin Classical, I think you absolutely get PO'd about what happened Friday night. And I think you get a fire lit under you. I believe that was not senior night. I think Friday night's their senior night. And with that being the case, I think you absolutely have to get up for this game. And I think that Franklin Classical wins this game Friday night against Providence Christian.
All right, you're taking Classical. Who do you and Zachary got? If you're the same or not, who knows?
Well, Zachary
I still have not
hasn't-
gotten this.
Yeah, Zachary hasn't given me his.
Zach, we need you
wait,
to.
hold on.
He said- there it
Providence
is.
Christian Academy gets their first win.
Yep.
Where are
just
y'all
upda-
seeing-
It just updated for me in the
Maybe
YouTube
my
channel.
computer's being stupid.
It's
You don't
it
gotta worry about it. That's why I'm the producer.
I know,
today.
but okay, fine, fine, touche.
But I'm gonna have to disagree with Zachary. I think Coach Austin, as much as
wow.
I gave you a lot of flack on sound off and everything like that. You guys have talent. I think you do have some sparks in coaching and everything like that. I think you will have a great bounce back game. I have full faith in you and your guys. A lot of talent on the team. I wish you guys the best of luck.
So you're agreeing with me?
Yeah,
And
but
going against Zach.
Yes, that's what.
Okay.
So
Yep.
So
right.
Zach takes Providence. You guys take Franklin Classical, and we'll next cover Freedom at Evangel for the second time this season. The Cowboys. It was a tough loss for them against the Evangel Lightning earlier in the year, and with the matchup coming in, and it's Coach Collins and company. They have a tough loss on the road against South Haven. Now they're going to have another tough road game against Evangel, and that game is on Friday Night Lights unless another storm comes in. So that the crowd for Evangel is going to be larger. That's what Coach Tim Smith was telling us after the game about their numbers were actually down because usually on Friday night they are packed because their fan base is incredibly enthusiastic about their guys. So, but for this second matchup of the year, I know you predicted this preseason when it was going to be hosted by Freedom in Huntsville, but does that change your pick at all with it being at Evangel?
I think it does, and I think Evangel comes away with the win. I think they get, obviously you have the demoralizing loss to Ezekiel Academy. You have a bounce-back win against the Tennessee Heat, kind of puts you back in the number 2 spot in the national rankings. Potentially, haven't seen them yet, but it potentially puts you back in the number 2 spot depending on what Providence Christian, or not Providence Christian, but the Pack Panthers, depending on what the powers that be think of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Evangel Christian comes away with the win against the Freedom Cowboys Friday night.
Was that your preseason prediction?
Yes.
Okay, so you even
But I
stuck
still,
that
but I still believe it.
yeah, even if the home field advantage, and Zachary gave us his pick.
Zachary also agrees with you, James. He says Evangel wins. Home field advantage gives Evangel a huge advantage. And I have to disagree with both of you.
Oh, hot take! Here we go.
I think our Cowboys, after they, you know what? Correct me if I'm wrong, if I remember correctly, because I really said the Cowboys last time. But the Cowboys played Patriots last week, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't play too bad. They actually had a really good first half against them. They started off strong, and the Patriots did what the Patriots did to make adjustments, and they just completely took it. But I'm going to say the same thing that Coach Austin's going to do is what they're going to do down there. Those Bama boys, they know how to play some good football. I say they're going to have a good bounce-back game. They're going to travel up here, and they're going to be ready to do some business.
We're gonna have to start a counter on how many games that Jack picks correctly and incorrectly. Even though at this point,
See how contagious it is to pick games?
Oh, no.
It's not even that you
have to
do
do
not.
it.
It's not even like with these games. It's like the team that you pick to win, the team that you pick not to win. It's not even like you have any. You're just like for the entertainment value.
Right.
Let's just see if I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong.
Right.
I
Yeah.
do it for like a money value because I do a lot of parlays for like.
All right. And the game that we will be at on Friday night. So we had a really tough decision between two games this week that are playoff implications. But ultimately, we have decided. Do we want a drum roll for this, or not yet? We have decided we are going to Fayetteville. We are headed down to Riverside Christian for the first time this season. We're covering a home game of theirs, and for the first time this season, we're covering the Ezel Harding Eagles. New kids on the block last year. We covered them several times, and now we cover them for the first time later in the season as Dustin McGee and company travel down to Fayetteville to collide with Travis Creasy and the rest of their company there. It's going to be a good matchup, especially take out the playoff implications on the line, because if Riverside wins, they're in that number 3 seed. If Ezell Harding wins, then it's still up in the air there about how things are going to go down, because they have that last game of the season against Lancaster. But you take Crutcher Ezell versus Alex Valbuena. You got Raymond Hunt versus several other guys on that defensive side
you
of
mean
Ezell
like
Harding.
Jamari Liddell?
Yeah, Jamari Liddell, assuming he's in, because he was out a few weeks ago.
Spence.
I know. But this is going to be another one of those great matchups, especially a rematch of the semifinals of the playoffs last year. So, James, preseason picks are the name of the game for you. And with this game at Riverside, does Coach Creasy seal a playoff berth for his guys?
Dark horse MVP of the game on Friday night will be Raymond Hunt. He is going to have we already know what to expect out of Crutcher Ezell, Jake Grabowski, Michael Whidden, all those guys. Raymond Hunt will have a dark horse MVP game, and Riverside Christian will send Ezell Harding home with a big old fat L.
Whew.
And then that puts the pressure on Ezell Harding to beat Lancaster later on in the year at Ezell Harding.
That is true, but It puts the pressure on them to beat them there. But Riverside's record will be done, and they'll have the tiebreakers. So if Riverside wins, they're in the postseason.
And just so I can't be accused of having a bias or hatred against Ezell Harding, let me back up. I think Lancaster Christian against FCA goes back to Smyrna with a big dub. And FCA has a big pile of L sitting on their field. I think that Franklin Christian sends Providence on their way back to Murfreesboro with an L sandwich.
I hate to.
You mean Franklin Classical?
Franklin Classical. I apologize.
Good.
I think that the Freedom Cowboys will stay in state, go back up I-65. And they will have one extra piece of equipment with them. An L.
Oh my goodness. Okay,
I think that Bowling Green Christian.
No. We'll get to that in a little bit. We're not to that game yet. That game's coming up, so we'll get to that in a little bit. So you've got Riverside winning at home and Raymond Hunt being the dark horse MVP. And Zachary gave us his pick, and then we get Jackson.
Yeah. So Zachary said in these games, big players tend to make bigger plays. With that being said, Crutcher and Riverside pull out a close win. Home field could play a small role. So he's going to take Riverside along with you, and then I'm going to have to, unfortunately, agree with you guys. Ezell Harding is going to go home with the L.
Will we get a race against Crutcher Ezell Friday night? Please.
I really want to,
but
but I actually am scared he's going to blow me out of the water.
No, here's the deal. If Riverside wins...
Does that mean Crutcher Ezell would beat Manny Ding in a race?
I would say so.
Hold on. Hold on. If Riverside wins... Yeah, all right, here's the deal. If Riverside wins on Friday... actually, I'm sure Coach Crazy will listen back to this. Coach, if you guys get the win on Friday, have Jack and Crutcher Ezell do a 40-yard dash. See who gets it there. But
if Ezell Harding wins, I think he should race Alex Valbuena.
Yes, that's a good idea.
And I think he's got a chance to beat you.
That's a good idea.
That boy can get up and move.
I'm gonna dress for the occasion. I feel like.
All right, bet.
Not wear super loose shoes. And
get your best sneakers.
But if you race Valbuena, you have to race barefoot because you do have a slight weight advantage. You're lighter than him. He's a lineman. He's like an awesome, kick butt lineman. But
yeah. Well,
we'll decide it on game day.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways.
All right. Let's wrap this up.
And the final game, as far as we're aware, that game is still going on because of it not being interdivisional. But on Saturday at 2 p.m., we'll be in Jackson, Tennessee. The only game going on. Our first game coverage of the year for the Bowling Green Warriors, who travel all the way from, to quote one of our favorite PA announcers, Bowling Green, Kentucky. They're traveling all the way from there to Jackson, Tennessee, to collide with the Knights. And hey, it'll be our first game to cover Don Brown and company. And for Bowling Green, what are you booing me for? I'm right.
You're saying Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Well, hey, I mean, it's the rivalry, man, as he once told me. So the Warriors collide with the Sacred Heart Knights, and this is one of those collision games where both teams looking for their first win of the season. It's gonna be tough, especially for Bowling Green because they're traveling early on a Saturday, and for Don Brown and company. This is going to be a test for them, especially against a team that is not playoff eligible. So they're now playing to give their guys and their seniors a good send off. So, all right, James, between Sacred Heart and Bowling Green, who you got?
You ever heard the phrase "life imitates art"?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, neither have I. So what'll happen is
this guy right here.
Have you ever heard this phrase I just made up?
So what's going to happen is. There's another Tennessee-Kentucky game going on Saturday. It's a college football game.
Mm-hmm.
Good old Rocky Top.
Yep.
The Volunteers.
Tough loss.
What?
Tough loss on Saturday.
Yesterday? We're not talking about that.
It's still tough.
We're not talking about that. There's another Tennessee-Kentucky game happening on Saturday. Kickoff is about 2 hours before this game. And the results will be the same. The Tennessee Volunteers will beat the Kentucky Wildcats.
Mm-hmm.
And the Sacred Heart of Jesus Knights will beat the Bowling Green Warriors.
Taking Tennessee. All right. We'll get Zach. What has Zachary said about Sacred Heart and Bowling Green? I'm sure it's coming in just a few seconds.
I was going to say it is not. It hasn't come in yet, unfortunately. But with I'll go ahead and take Sacred Heart.
And just to be consistent. Both games happening in Tennessee, but don't ever shake your wrist like that again, or I'll never mind. Both games happening in Tennessee, and Kentucky will be gaining 2 extra pieces of equipment.
L's.
In the state, it will be L's.
Zachary says tough one.
I
have
wish
to
you
go.
would stop that. I have Indianapolis's defense. Anyways,
I have the Browns.
Anyways,
what are you freaking out about?
Zachary said
pick
tough
6.
one. I have to go with Bowling Green. That's why I was freaking out because Zachary is going against you guys on that. It's going to be.
Well, this is why Zachary is a losing rate. I'm kidding. all love.
All right, you got any justification for why you're taking Sacred Heart, Jack?
I think James said it best. I mean,
the fact that the Vols are going to beat the Wildcats and then it'll imitate.
Stop. Yeah. I just don't see Bowling Green pulling out a win. It's kind of like a weird superstition kind of thing, I guess you could say. I just feel like next Sunday when we come in here, I can't picture any of us saying Bowling Green won. You know what I mean? I just don't see it.
All right.
Really
You got.
explain,
All right, Zachary being the lone wolf on this one, so that's what we'll go with. So
we hope he can take the lead with it, though.
all right, James. Final shout-outs. Final shout-outs. Anything so that you don't interrupt me while I'm giving my outro.
I can't think of any.
Follow social media.
Yeah, go follow our social media.
Get the bell on. Follow TikTok. He just posted
you already know him.
He just posted a good TikTok today. That
He
was
did.
all right. That was all
We
right.
all made an effort.
Anything from you, Jack?
I would like to give another special shout out to not to Kenyon Drake this week because he is actually off my team, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, for Christian McCaffrey, I don't know how I did it, but praise the Lord. I want to thank him, obviously, but no, I go follow our social medias and everything like that. And then tune into the broadcast on Friday where we will be covering Riverside. Hopefully takes the win, but should be a very close game. A lot of good matchups on paper. Very excited to be there.
Yeah, McGee and company colliding with Creasy and the crew. It's that's going to be a good game on Friday night for sure. Anything else before we sign off, James?
Can't think of anything.
All good. All right, that's going to wrap it up for Extreme Radio presented by GracePointe Healthcare. $20 off your new patient office visit fee when you request it online. And Jets Pizza. Let's get Jets. For James, Zachary Washington from the hospital, and Jack Helwig, Spencer Thompson saying we'll see you Friday for Riverside East Harding and Sacred Heart Bowling Green on Saturday.